Hey Shannon, have you heard anything lately?
You know what, Tanner? I have.
What have you heard?
I heard that you can email your questions, your comments, and your show title ideas to poppetscorner@gmail.com.
Are you telling me that our fans can actually be involved with the show by submitting their questions, comments, or show topic ideas to poppetscorner@gmail.com?
That's right, poppetscorner@gmail.com. That's spelled POPPITTS corner@gmail.com.
Submit your emails now. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Poppitt's Corner. I'm stoked to be going all the way up to Canada once again, and I'd like to bring on the front man himself, Mr. Tim Tymo of the band Tymo. Tim, how you doing,
Um,
man? Thanks for coming on and hanging. I truly appreciate a moment of your time.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Well, so obviously we're here to talk about the Art of a Maniac record, and right off the bat, I noticed a couple things from the last because I kind of went back and discovered some of your previous stuff, like the Purge and Reset, and of course the Lone Wolf record. Didn't realize you had 3 albums out, and right off the bat, I've noticed that this is just a huge step forward in terms of production and intensity. And I really felt like conceptually this was more. I don't. It just seems more. How would I explain it? You seem more seasoned, I guess, in this. So I'm kind of curious your thinking on the writing process this time around compared to the other two records.
Uh, I think just gelling more as a band. It was a lot easier this time around. I think we had a bunch of songs left over from Purge and Reset that were like half written and not quite ready. So that was a bit of a head start, but we just knew we wanted to push the boundaries on this one. And I think there was just a hunger this time. And I feel like it really came together well this time.
I would say so. I mean, just the intensity alone is it's super in your face the whole time. It's like unrepentantly, it's like relentless. So was that was that your specific thinking when writing this particular record? Did you want to have something that was just super intense and just not, it didn't, I guess, let up on the gas?
Yeah, it was. We were playing shows with like WMD, who we mentioned, and Hazard, and just seeing those guys play, we knew we had to step up our game. Because the only album we had out at the time was Purge and Reset. Not bashing it, but we wanted to write a full-on thrash album, and this was the result.
Now, you mentioned a couple bands from that particular scene. I'm just curious, and please educate me a little bit. The scene up in Edmonton, Alberta. So, what is the primarily style, I guess, of metal out there? Is it black metal primarily, thrash, punk rock? What do you guys have in terms of hard rock and metal out in your specific area? Because you can't be an anomaly. There's no way.
No, that'd be perfect. We have a lot of death metal, a lot of groove metal. There is a little bit of everything, but mainly death metal.
Interesting. So do you primarily play with, I'm assuming, with those kind of bands, or do you regularly get out to play in other parts of Canada, or?
We're looking to branch out a little more. So far, we've mainly been in Alberta and Saskatchewan. And luckily, hopefully this year, we're getting out to British Columbia to play some shows. And then after that, we're hoping to get over to Europe at some point. We would have done this a lot sooner, but just COVID getting in everyone's way.
So when did this actually get recorded, if you don't mind me asking?
It would we actually started right before everything shut down 2 years ago. We started tracking drums right before the whole world went on lockdown. And then some restrictions lifted, and then we finished recording the album, and then we sat on it for like the rest of 2020 and 2021 and took our time mixing it, which was like the only good thing about this pandemic is we had the extra time to really review it and make sure it was okay.
Now, did you hang on to the record just because you were one of those bands that were waiting to see this thing kind of end so you can release it and then
Exactly.
immediately okay.
We wanted to come back to shows, and we actually had a release show planned for February 5th, but an Omicron popped out of nowhere, so we're hoping for May now. But
Now, what was the sorry to cut you off, but what was the catalyst to you thinking, okay, with it now it's time to release this finally?
near the end of 2021, some restrictions were being lifted, shows were back, um, and it seemed like there was control, like people could live their lives again. And I was kind of waiting just to see how it all go, and it seemed to be going good. So we decided let's do it February because that's enough time to promote it, build it up, and sure enough, with our luck, a new variant had to come out. But oh well, is what it is.
Sure. And now I just kind of have to ask I'm gonna go to this particular aspect first. I want to touch upon the album cover. And
Okay.
I'm I'm just kind of curious. So the title of the album is obviously "The Art of a Maniac," and clearly it's a picture of Bob Ross, like
Yeah.
mutilated almost. So is Bob Ross a maniac? Is in real life? Is that the whole the whole concept to what this is, or can you just explain your choice in that specific artist on the cover itself?
Bob Ross, probably the opposite of a maniac. He's the calmest guy ever. We knew we wanted to call the album "The Art of a Maniac" after the song, of course, and we were talking about it. And as soon as we mentioned the word art, Bob Ross came to mind, and we just said, "Hey, how about we have like a messed up looking Bob Ross in front of a post-apocalyptic world? It'd be kind of a nice contrast. Like happy little mistakes, the world's ended. There's destruction going on all around him, but he's just painting a picture." And fun fact, that UFO wasn't originally there. We decided after we had the artwork to add the UFO in because we seem to have a theme about aliens. That was actually our drummer's idea, Mark. He's like, "Why don't we have a UFO?" And it was like, "Oh, let's add it."
I love it. So the concept to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but to me, when I looked at this, for one, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Because I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I'm an honest journalist myself. So,
That's
but
perfect.
the other thing that I got looked into it a little bit further, it was like kind of like an oxymoron because here he is kind of painting what he wants the world to look like, and the world is like being destroyed around him. So it's kind of like an oxymoron, as in like this is what the world should look like. Now, am I wrong in my assessment of just the overall concept to this, or is this just one interpretation? Or
Just one interpretation. Um, we didn't really dive too into the concept. Like as time goes on, we're realizing, wow, this actually means a lot of things. We kind of looked at it from a humor standpoint, just like, oh, it'd be funny if Bob Ross is in the middle of this destroyed world and just have him painting. And Andrei Buzikov, who painted the picture, he really brought it to life. But yeah, like more people I've been talking to, they're like, I'm hearing a lot of amazing concepts. And to be honest with you, I wish we did have those concepts originally. We kind of just thought, like, yeah, Bob Ross. It was really, yeah, kind of just thrown together. But
I love it. Maybe that you might have to just lie to people and just say, "Yo, no, that was the concept," So
maybe it'll depend on what mood we're in that day. But I had to be honest today.
exactly. Well, you and me both, my friend. Now, I'm kind of curious because you mentioned Andre, and I'm just curious, whose album cover inspired you to want to use him for yours? I'm sure he's done. I mean, hundreds of album covers out there. So I'm just kind of curious what bands of his kind of inspired you to be like, "Oh, we want that guy to do ours."
Oh, like a lot of threat, like municipal waste, Iron Reagan, um, Cannabis Corpse. That's another one. There's so many bands. We just wanted that thrash metal looking artwork, and we really loved his work and thought it was worth a shot to send him an email. We're hoping to hear a reply back from him. Sure enough, he replied, and got to work with him because I guessing he's probably really busy.
Sure. I from the looks of it, absolutely. Now there's a track on the record I want to I want to get more information on. It's I'm just kind of curious who Roy Parson is, and what is the Roy Parson project. So I'm just kind of curious what he accomplished in his life that would made it so significant for you guys to want to write about it?
Do you watch Rick and Morty?
I don't.
Okay. There's a character in Rick and Morty. It's they're in an episode, they're in a like an arcade, and they plug into a virtual reality where you get to live as this man named Roy Parson. You get to choose how to run his life. And of course, when Morty gets plugged into it, he lives the cliche, boring life. He catches cancer and then goes back to work at a carpet store. So we kind of paired it as about Roy Parson, but also about video game addiction, like how people try to escape into virtual reality to get away from their normal lives, like going to work every day. Like in virtual reality, I can be anything I want. In real life, it's like,
It's a scary concept, dude.
It's depressing. There's a lot of depressing subjects on this album. I read the lyrics, I'm like, oh, must be coming from somewhere.
Well, speaking of your lyrics, there are a lot of them. I mean, literally, I think the first couple tracks, it's literally unrelenting, except for the instrumental title track itself. But I'm kind of curious, when you are writing your songs and whatnot, what is the typical writing process for Timo or for Tymo? See, I said it once. Damn it! There you go.
No, it's all good, man. Usually, sometimes we'll write as a band, but other times we use a program called Guitar Pro, and we'll have songs written out on Guitar Pro, and everyone will learn them and then put their ideas into them. And one of us will write lyrics over it. The other one will write lyrics. Like Nick Schwartz, like really stepped up and wrote a lot of lyrics for this album. And of course, the ones that are really hard to sing, he wrote the lyrics for. We just don't get a chance to breathe. I'm like, like Mars Attacks and Estrogenocide, all the ones where there's like a lot of words. Nick wrote those ones. I think it's a torture test.
So it's pretty much like the first half of the record.
Yeah.
Because it's literally one after another. So I'm guessing if you ever had to play it in its entirety, you'd be very tired, or at least need a 10-minute break in between each song.
Absolutely. We're actually planning on playing the entire album live at our album release. Actually, we'll probably be doing it at a lot of the shows. It is very tiring. Indeed. It's, I don't know what the secret is. I'm trying to jog more. I'm trying to keep my stamina up. It doesn't help. It is what it is.
So you're mentioning playing live again. So are there any shows on the horizon for you, or are any plans to tour Europe? Because you're mentioning you want to tour it. Are there anything's in the works for you?
Right now, we're hoping to get back to it in May. We got a couple of shows coming up in BC. They haven't been announced yet. And then we're going to finally do our proper album release, our home show. Then from there, yeah, we got to definitely do some planning and see where the world's at. But we'd really like to get over to Europe, at least near the end of this year or early next year. Probably end up being early next year with the way things are going. But anything can happen.
And I think you do well out there. It seems like a very aggressive style of music seems to be what's selling out in Europe these days. So
yeah.
Now, I'm just curious for you personally. Now, what was your specific kind of ultimate goal for this album in terms of like the overall finished version? Were you kind of satisfied with this? Did it, or was there something more that you wanted to add to this record that didn't get on it? If I can, hopefully, I'm making sense with this. But
yeah, makes sense.
Was your ultimate goal fulfilled?
Yes, I would say so. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Like, it's hard to say when time goes on, like say a few years go by, you may look back at it and be like, oh, I should have done that, should have done this. But as of right now, pretty happy with it. Like I find I always take breaks for my own music. Like I won't listen to stuff for a while and then I'll come back to it and think, oh, that actually turned out not bad. That turned out pretty good. Because as a writer, you listen to it in such a different way. You're critiquing every little performance or stuff about the mix, but no, this one I'm completely satisfied with. And I think the other guys are too. I haven't really asked them, but everyone seems pretty happy.
what would you like to see? I guess I'm going to the next stage, but what would you like to see more of, particularly maybe on the next record that you probably didn't get to a chance to dive into as far as musical styles go?
I think the next one I want to do more changes of time signatures. Like we did that on War Beneath the Skull. Like we kind of had 3/4 during the verse and then cut back into 4/4 during the chorus. I want to try some more of that and some more feel changes. I feel like it's going to get proggier in a way, more technical. I can't say for sure yet. We started writing one song so far, and yeah, there's tempo changes all over the place. So I think we're going to see more of that. Like it's tempo changes and feel changes.
Interesting. Now, who would you particularly, hypothetically, I'm just kind of speaking hypothetically here, who would you like to use on the next one as far as the engineer goes, the artwork? Would you go back to Andre or?
Absolutely. I think the exact same team that worked on this one, we're definitely going to work again on this one. We're going to work with the same publicist, John Asher of Asher Media Relations. He's done a phenomenal job with this. We're going back to Graham Smith, and it was just a perfect team, and Andre to do the artwork again. It's just really happy with how hard everyone worked on this.
Now, in terms of your logo, and I'm going to show the album cover again. I'm just curious how you guys particularly found your logo and settled upon it, as it were.
A fella by the name of Art Sasbo, he has a website called bandbrand.ca. He designed our logo. He designed it right before Purge and Reset, and we were very happy with what he came up with, and it kind of just stuck. I'm not 100% sure. We may have different styles of logos in the future, but as of right now, yeah, we're happy with how that's looking.
Well, maybe if you go more proggy or something, you might change it again.
Yeah, or get it to a point where you can't read it.
Yeah, then you'd be the most brutal band on the planet, right?
Exactly. If you can't read it, the more brutal you are. So yeah, maybe we'll try something like that. Or spell it backwards.
Now, in terms of stateside, what has been the overall reception to this record in terms of North America and just pretty much all the Americas?
It's been overwhelmingly positive, which is, I don't think I don't know about the other guys, but it hasn't quite hit me yet. I'm just still kind of in shock because, to be honest, I had a feeling like we were going to release this, then it was just going to fall into the cracks, because of shows not happening and everyone's so occupied with other things on their minds, like COVID and everything that's going on in the world. I thought it was just going to slip right through the cracks, but no, I'm just so grateful that everyone's been liking it. And of course, there's been some people who don't like it, but everyone's entitled to an opinion. Everyone likes their own styles of metal and music, but overall, yeah, very positive.
It's interesting that obviously that you'd have some kind of negative feedback. Obviously, it means you're doing something right. Just gonna throw that out there. But this album is very aggressive. It kind of reminds me of the 2011, 12, that whole new wave of thrash metal era. I think if this came out then, it would have been even bigger, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that whole aggressive style was, you can probably remember this as well as I can, but that style was kind of massive during the late 10s, or the late 2000s, early 10s, as it were. But just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's when the Big Four reunited, and I think that maybe kind of birthed a resurgence of thrash metal. And I feel like thrash metal was always there and very popular, but I just remember, especially when the Big Four reunited in Sofia, Bulgaria, there was just this huge. Everyone was so stoked.
Well, I would almost disagree with you, and I'm going to tell you why. So there was a show, obviously, in 2001 called Clash of the Titans, which brought back. It was because Chuck Billy and Chuck Schuldiner had cancer, so they had a show in the Bay Area that had all these legendary thrash metal bands like Violence play for the first time in years. So I think that was probably the catalyst, and then obviously you had Thrasher de Mayo's happening in the
Yeah.
gosh darn it, the mid 2000s. So I think with that, and then obviously that got the ball rolling for the big four, and then, it kind of went away. And now we have this traditional heavy metal style. If you can,
Yeah.
who knew it would be going backwards in time,
Yeah. It's like records are back, cassettes are back. Like it's awesome. I'm all for it, but it's just still kind of shocking. Like I even remember the 1990s when I was a kid. Like I wanted a turntable, and my parents were like, "Why? If you have a CD player." And you had to go to a pawn shop to find a turntable, and God forbid the needle was good, or you'd be shopping everywhere for a needle. And now you can get them at Walmart. it's mind blowing.
It is really amazing. And so you're mentioning cassettes and CDs and whatnot. And you guys are, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you guys are primarily an independent act. You're not signed to a particular label. So I'm curious how you've met the demand in terms of physical media for this particular record.
It's been tough. Like CDs are the main one that we released, and we sold out. So we're printing more, trying to get those into everyone's hands. Cassettes we're gonna do next. We looked into vinyl, but vinyl is so expensive right now. Like we're looking into some distribution deals that we can possibly get to get some vinyl printed. If a label would be willing to go half and we pay half, or they're willing to cover it. But as of right now, we're going to focus on CDs and cassettes and hopefully see where this vinyl thing goes. Because from what I heard, there's a shortage right now, and everyone's racking up their prices, which makes sense. But
well, there's also a 6 to 8 month delay on factories as well. So you're going to be waiting a long time.
exactly. So might just have to wait and see how this vinyl thing plays out. But yeah.
So I'm generally curious with, and lastly, I want to thank you very much again for giving me a few minutes of your time to do this.
Yeah, no problem.
Hopefully we'll bring you back on the show on the next round and talk some more shit and hang out. But, where's is the best place to support you guys? Are you guys on Bandcamp? Are you guys on? Go ahead.
Probably Bandcamp. You can actually reach all these sites through our official website, www.tymo.ca. And you can access our Bandcamp through there. We use it as our store. It is such a user-friendly tool. We figured if it ain't broke, why fix it? So you can access that through there. And then you can access all of our social media pages, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We have all the links in there.
And obviously nobody's going to fault you for the shipping costs, right?
No, trust me, I'm bummed about the shipping costs too. I can't believe how expensive it is. Like I wish I could just waive the shipping costs and like, here, thank you for supporting my music. Here is the CD just as is. But
yeah, it's almost like you wish everybody was at the shows. That way they can just purchase it right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy how expensive everything is lately. It is. I'm hoping.
Hopefully it'll go down, and hopefully we'll see you guys on the road here. Now, thank you so much again for giving, like I said, a couple minutes of your time, man. It means so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been an awesome talk.
Absolutely, man. And I look forward to doing many more. But for another episode of Poppitt's Corner, guys, we're out of here. Cheers.